Hey, everybody. Super excited to be here today with Josh and Maria to talk about buyers and how do you get buyers and what do you do with buyers and how often do you call them? What's the follow-up process and when is too much? So, super excited. Hope y'all had a happy new year.
Happy New Year,
Happy New
everybody.
Year, yes.
Wow. First week back. And before we get started, can we just get a quick go blue shout from you ladies?
Okay. You know you're going to get it from me. Go blue.
Yes. I got to tell you, I'm on a flight to Houston in a couple of days and for a lifetime experience with my son. So hopefully we get a Michigan win. But anyway, I'm just excited. So I had to share.
That's exciting. Yes.
So let's get into buyers. Some great conversations here. There's a number of different topics within the buyer conversation, and I think that what may be the most helpful is just to talk about how are we finding buyer opportunities first and foremost, and then move into how are you communicating with buyers, right? Yeah. Because a lot of agents right now are like, geez, what do I do? It's January 4th. How do I find buyers?
Yeah.
Right.
So let's list some examples of tactical ways to go out and find some new people. Anybody want to kick it off?
Yes. So for me, one thing that we do is we use Vulcan 7 for neighborhoods, and we'll do the just listed or just sold script, and it does help us get in a lot of new opportunities, buyer opportunities.
So are you circle prospecting? Is that what you're doing? You're kind of circle prospecting, and are you finding that that's working? Does that work?
So one of the agents on my team, he actually does it mostly for listings, but he got like 17 listings last year from doing it. So yes, we definitely.
Then I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. This is what I started doing a few weeks ago. So I'm like, I'm not giving up then.
Don't give up. Don't give up.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think another way to that you can get buyer prospects is it depends on how much database you have, so doing very informative videos I think is also very very helpful to show that you are the knowledgeable person that they need to call.
Absolutely.
So what are some ways you guys are getting buyers?
Okay, I go everywhere. I go everywhere because I've got a team, and I like to give my team the buyer leads as well. So, absolutely. I mean, we do all of the things that a lot of realtors don't like that some of us necessarily do. We do the Zillow, we do the Realtor.com, but we also do a lot of the traditional things, all the way down to my new agents. I'm like, put on that name tag. Put that sign on your car. Make sure you've got your business cards with you. When you pay a tab at the restaurant and you leave that server a great tip, put your card in there so they know who you are.
That's funny.
A lot. So
my first year of business, I would do 10 cards a day. And I would be like, I would not go home until I gave out 10 cards. So I would literally be pumping gas. And I'd be like, hey, do you have a realtor that you would know and trust and refer? And they're like, no. I'm like, can I be your realtor? Just so I would give out
the same thing. Jennifer, we did the same thing. It is a great way because number one, start that conversation. Start that conversation. Here's the thing. Don't we always find out everybody wants to talk about real estate?
And that's when that name tag, that's if you're a little bit shyer. I think that's where you talk about the name tag really opens up the conversation because people come to you.
Right.
Yes.
100%.
Can't go in Publix with that name tag on. Somebody's going to stop you.
That's right. What about you, Josh?
I think it all starts with, newer experienced agent. It all starts with our database, right?
That's right.
We're determining who we're going to communicate with, how we're going to communicate with them. For us, we're very heavily focused on our top 50, our VIP clients, having consistent conversations. Our style is not really to be pushy as far as, hey, who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? We're more of a consistent being a resource with our database and being the professional, which we'll get into how you communicate with your database to get those buyer referrals. Next step would be serious opportunities for open house buyers out there.
That amen.
There is 100%, like if I'm a new agent, if I'm an experienced agent, if I'm a little bit slower right now, I am, and even if I don't have listings, I'm communicating with other people in the office to host their open houses. And I'm really attacking that. I'm being systematic with sign-in sheets, communicating with people, following up, and again, being a resource. Next would be social media. We've got some different social media plans on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I mean, Abby on my team, she did not want to do TikTok. And I said, Abby, you've got to start doing TikTok. You're perfect. She's been in the business for 5 years. She just closed a buyer deal from TikTok. Wow. So this is a real thing. And social media is a great opportunity to attract buyers with how you're presenting yourself online. I mean, ultimately, if you're being a resource online, people are going to be attracted to your professionalism, your knowledge, your expertise. And then the last thing would be lead generation. We are involved with some of these different lead generation sites, whether it's realtor.com, Zillow, YouTube, Google. So there's some good ideas for any level of agents, whether you're just, working on your database versus open house versus commitment to social media versus maybe some lead gen. So I think those are some really good ideas for how we're finding buyers. Now, the question is, how are we communicating with buyers right now? I mean, it's January 4th. Let's dig into that.
Yeah.
And telephone.
So yeah, absolutely telephone. But I mean, one of the conversations that I've been having all week is the fact that interest rates dropped last week.
They did.
The lowest they've been since May. So that is a good, again, back to your point, Josh, you're showing your value and giving them information that they might not have seen yet. So right. I think that's a good conversation. Anything that's happening in the world is a good conversation. But sometimes you don't know what those buyers are looking for. Right. You don't know what information they need.
Right.
So then that's when we start doing, calling to tell you about the different marinas in Wilmington, calling to tell you about different golf courses in Wilmington, trying to do something to figure out what their point of interest is, and get them talking.
Right. Yeah, I think a good topic. Well, right now, I mean, there's a couple things. There's a couple ways you can go with this. You really want to dig into what somebody's annual real estate goals are. So that's a good conversation, just to open it up with a buyer lead. Say, hey, I just want to be a great resource for you. What are your annual, what are your real estate goals for 2024? Soft, easy conversation, listen, and then you're going to get many points out of that where you can then become a resource. Yeah. We go into, plenty of websites out there to get detailed information. I feel like buyers are visual. So there's sites out there like Keeping Current Matters that these are great sites to kind of get people off the fence. Maybe they're analyzing, like you said, where interest rates have been, how they're now coming down. Maybe we're showing them, annual, historical appreciation over time, just to let buyers know that this real estate is a great investment. And then the other thing is just getting hyper local in your market. I mean, in our market, I can honestly say that I know exactly what our appreciation was for 2023. And I know what our projected appreciation is for 2024. Yeah. So if you're sharing that information with a buyer and being a great resource and being a professional, ultimately, hopefully you're going to get the information you need, and then you're going to, start to work with them and have some consistent communication. And, again, going back to we don't have to be super high pressure in this business. We can just be a great resource. And I think people are attracted to that.
That's right. That's right. Offering them something to value.
I know we were talking a little bit, guys, about scripts and how you, you can follow a script and stuff like that. But Josh, what you are nailing home right now for me is, yes, it's fine to have a script, and it's, especially when you're just getting started, absolutely. But what people are looking for is that personal relationship. So what you need to try to do is to build that relationship with that buyer. That buyer could be 3 years out, 7 years out. I've had some 10 years out. You never know. You just build that relationship, ask the right questions, learn as much as you can about them, learn what's important to them.
And I agree, but don't you think, Maria, like that script, like as we do the LP Mama, location, price, motivation, like don't you think that script helps you figure out what it is they want? It is the right questions that you need to ask.
Definitely does. And I'll tell you, the Z drives that home. ALM. They drive that home, and I totally get it. It does work. But you know what? If you listen to some of the scripts that are out there, they're so regimented. Well, what is your motivation for moving?
Well, that's stupid. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, I'm just going to go, how did you pick Beaufort?
Yeah.
But where did you see us? Where did you find us? How did you pick this?
But you're getting them to talk, and you're getting them to give you their motivation. But you're right. I heard somebody the other day that said, so what's your motivation? And the person was like, what do you mean? I was like,
what do you mean by motivation? Well, I saw you in Southern Living and I liked it. It was a beautiful picture.
I mean, I think, and I love what you guys are saying. I think that what we're all discussing is there's not really one way to do this. And as real estate professionals, we need to understand that you got to bob and weave depending on who that buyer is, how you meet them, where they came from. I mean, I'm going to communicate with a referral buyer 100% different than I'm going to communicate with a Zillow lead, right?
Yes.
So we need to understand that. Now, the other piece of this is, are you educated enough to handle buyer objections, right? So we talked about where the buyers are coming from. We talked about how we're starting to communicate with them. But now the question is, how do you internally motivate someone when they say, you know what, I've just heard the market is not good, interest rates are high. So as professionals, that's where I'm getting back to the resources. You need to show them data of trends, historical graphs. I mean, that's kind of where we're at with things, because ultimately, the better communicator you are in overcoming these fear objections is certainly going to help move the buyer forward and build trust with you, the agent, right?
100%. No, I think that's a very, very, very valid point, is you have to educate them. You can't make somebody buy if they're not wanting to buy, but you give them the education, you become their resource to help them figure out when it's the right time for them to buy.
100%.
Have all those good things in your toolkit. Have them ready. Have them on standby. Have all those things in your toolkit.
That's right. But
and go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, it goes back to knowing the data, knowing the statistics, knowing the numbers.
And I think we'll probably close this with the hardest part of, for most agents, the hardest part of working with buyers is truly the follow-up, right? I mean, let's be honest. I think if you pulled 100% of the realtors, 90% of the realtors would say, hey, I followed up with this buyer once.
Yeah.
I followed up with this buyer twice, right? So the question is, how are you guys being consistent, and what does that look like? And this is a challenge. So let's have an open conversation with that. Like, how are you guys being consistent with your buyer follow-up? Maybe if you're not hearing from them, maybe you heard from them once. Let's talk about that.
So, and I think that's a good question. It depends on what they tell me. So when if I get them on the phone and they tell me that they're going to buy in 9 months, I divide it in half, right? So I'm going to say, wonderful, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set you up on an email that shows you everything that hits the market the minute it hits the market based on the criteria of what you're looking for. And then I'm going to call you in 4 months so that we could go ahead and make sure that you are set up and in a position to when it is time for you to buy, that you are ready to start the process. So then after the 4 months, then I start calling once a month,
right,
until we get closer to their time frame. And then I'm calling them once a week or once a day, depending on how close we are and how serious they are.
Yeah. If you're coming this week, I'm on the phone with you daily.
Yeah, well, usually I call every morning and I'll just say, hey, I pulled up the hot sheet today. Just want to let you know nothing hit the market yet that fits your criteria, or wanted to let you know, hey, this one hit the market, and they really like it. And they know that, like, every day I'm calling it this time, and I'm going to let them know what is available that day.
They love it. And if you take it, if you do one thing additional that the other agent, another agent may not do, check for those off-market properties. Check Z for the FSBO out there. You never know where you're going to find that perfect home for that buyer. And if they see that you're taking those extra steps, they really appreciate that.
I think that's a very valid point. And that also goes back to the credibility and the knowledge and the being the resource.
Yeah, be the resource. Share good content. I mean, we've got some good content plans where we're, you started this conversation, Jennifer, by getting hyper local in your market.
Yeah.
So if we have an agent that's moving to a suburb here that would be Ada, Michigan, for example, shoot a video. We have videos for all our communities. Shoot a video. I just want to share this video. This is what this is what it's like to live in this community. Right. There's a number of ways where you can be a great resource, and I truly believe that's how you get to the top in this real estate game. The last thing that I'll personally say is continue to check on people's motivation and time frame in a non-pressure way, right? Because somebody might tell you 9 months, but they might get excited in 3 months. And we need to be aware of that, because if we're not communicating enough in that first 3 to 4 months, and they all of a sudden get excited, they see a property, they go to an open house,
and they forget about you.
They forget about us. So we need to continually check on motivation. That's quick touch points. That's quick. Hey, I saw this house. I was thinking about you. I just want to see if anything's changed in your purchasing schedule. Non-pressure. Leave it at that.
I love it.
Pressure really doesn't work in this business at all.
Actually,
it is a relationship business. You don't have to pressure somebody. They're going to buy if they're going to buy. People have to love. They have to love the area. They have to love the home. If all the stars align, then they'll buy.
That's right.
As I was walking in the office, I was like, who came up with that term, buyers or liars? I don't think that's a good term. Like, we shouldn't be. I think that's an old prospecting term from like 15 years ago, buyers or liars. But at the end of the day, like if you do great for people, they will be attracted to you, and that's the name of the game right now.
I think that's 100% accurate.
Yeah,
very good.
Me too.
Great topic today.
It was a great topic. So we're going to go find some buyers. We're going to go find some buyer opportunities.
Absolutely. I'm showing buyers this week.
Well, good.
Right.
Yes.
A good start to 2024.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll see you guys all next week.
Yes, absolutely. I'll see you then. Bye, guys.